Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to session number 3 of this Power Hour week. We're just going to give people a couple of minutes to join. So firstly, welcome to everyone that's here. Hope you've been with me for the last couple of days and just going through what we've seen so far, and then obviously continuing the journey tomorrow to round it all off. But while we're waiting for people, we've done this for the last couple of days, and we'll continue doing the same thing. So survey time. I don't know if everyone here has done this. If there's someone that hasn't, this is your time. Point your camera to the QR code and it should take you to a Microsoft Forms link. There's a quick 5-question survey there, which just sort of asks you about your experience with Microsoft 365 and the different apps within the suite, just to get an understanding really of where you are in your Microsoft journey. It also asks you questions about, you know, how familiar are you with some of the apps that are in the suite that you may or may not know of, and then kind of getting your feedback on what you expect from these sessions, and also, you know, whether you'd like some more sessions similar to this. So yeah, just point your phones to the QR code and off you go. The same QR code will be in the following slides as well. So if you do miss it on this first screen, or if you've just joined us and I'm moving to the next slide, you haven't missed it. You can pick it up on the next slide. So quick one. This is me. Hi, Akshar Apte, technical consultant at CPIT. Who am I? Where do I come from? What do I do? I've come from a advertising and communications background prior to my role here at CPIT. That's not to say that I was personally into things like graphic design or advertising or communications. I've always been an IT person, but having worked in the advertising and communications industry, I know how important presentation can be, and how much the right presentation can help put forward the right image. So we are going to talk about presentation today, but it's not me giving you graphic design tips. It's not about telling you how to place elements on a PowerPoint slide or how to create movies. It's talking about the presentation applications within the Microsoft suite. Just a couple of housekeeping tasks. So before we move on, the structure of this, and has been for the last couple of days, we go through an intro to Microsoft 365 and what that is and where everything fits in. We then go into the individual apps that we want to talk about, so the presentation apps today, and then right at the end we've got about 10 minutes for a Q&A session. But as you might have noticed when you joined the call, there's a Q&A box in your Teams window, so that is live. You can send your questions through now, but I will pick them up at the end of the slide. So if you do see something as we're going through it and you want to know more, just feel free to pop that in and I'll pick it up towards the end. Cool. All right, let's move right along. So what have we done so far? We've had 4 sessions through the week. We started with the productivity suite, so that's all done. Yep. We did the communication suite yesterday and there was a lot of you. So thanks for joining in. And hope you found something useful in there for, you know, things like Teams especially and Yammer. We've moved on to presentation suite today, so we're going to do Sway, PowerPoint and Stream, and then we're going to move on to data, AI and automation tomorrow. And for that, I'll be joined by Steve Strang, who's our resident in-house data expert, Power Apps and Power BI expert, and he's going to talk through some of those apps. So what's today's agenda? We're going to start with Microsoft 365. We're going to move on to the presentation suite, and then talk about the individual apps in it, so Sway, PowerPoint and Stream, and then we'll finish off with what's coming up after these sets of events, Q&A, and then that's where we'll end today. So firstly, what is Microsoft 365? And hang on, wasn't it called Office 365 at some point? For those that have been here for the last couple of days, apologies again, but I'm just going to do my quick spiel through this. So as of the 21st of April, Microsoft relabeled their consumer and business products to Microsoft 365. So they used to be called things like Office 365 Business Premium, Office 365 Business Essentials, Office 365 Home, And now all of those products are called Microsoft 365. So there's been a little bit of a change of name. In terms of functionality, most of it has stayed the same. Microsoft has some other product versions within that Microsoft 365 label that have additional features. So for example, the top of the line feature in one of these licenses is Microsoft 365 Business Premium. And what that does is it includes all the Office apps, so Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, as well as the other apps that Microsoft provides, but it bundles in additional security features with EMS and also throws in a Windows 10 license for you. So they put these three components together and badge that as Microsoft 365 Business Premium. Microsoft Business Basics, I think it's called, is still, or Standard. Microsoft 365 Business Standard, yep. And that one just contains the Office apps and doesn't contain the rest of the things. So there's subtle differences between the different products in this license as well. And if you want more details, just jump onto the cooperparryit.com website, go to Microsoft 365, and you'll see a comparison of the different programs that are available under this banner. Cool. Okay, so this is one of my favorite slides, and I love talking about it. And it's because it kind of gives you an overview of everything that sits within Microsoft land and under the application umbrella. The different sections in here are my logical grouping. So you might think certain apps do certain different things, but this is how I've grouped them. So for me, the productivity suite has things like calendar, planner, tasks, to-do, Word, OneNote, and OneDrive. The communication suite for me includes Teams, People, Outlook, and Yammer. Today's presentation suite includes Sway, PowerPoint, and Stream. SharePoint, the pie slice in red that goes all around the wheel, and that's because SharePoint is the backbone for most of the apps. It's where the information from these apps is stored. It essentially provides the security and things like that across the entire suite. And so we've got that little sliver of red that flows across the wheel and goes all the way around. We've then got the Data AI and Automation suite, and this is what we're going to talk about tomorrow with things like My Analytics, Power BI, Power Apps, Forms, Delve, Excel, and Flow. And the last little slice of pie is the extended suite with the pound signs next to it. And the reason it's separate and we're not talking about it in this series is because they're all Microsoft apps, but they are separately licensed. So you will have to purchase a separate license for Project, for Visio, and for Dynamics 365. The reason they're on this wheel is because they talk to the other apps within this wheel. So you can store your files in SharePoint. If it's a project file, it's a Visio file, and you can import and embed things from all of these into other apps. MileIQ, that sits in there. Like I've said in the last couple of webinars, it's a free app, so that's one that you don't have to pay for, but it's a mileage calculator, so something, mileage tracker rather, so something you can have running on your phone if you do drive for work and you need to put in mileage claims. MileIQ is what you need, and it makes your life a lot easier because it does it all for you. So this is everything that's available, and what we're going to focus on today is, out of this whole thing, we're going to focus on just these three, so the presentation suite. So part of this is Sway, PowerPoint, and Stream. Let's go straight into it because most of you would know what PowerPoint is. Maybe some of you know what Sway and Stream are, but I'm hoping that by the end of this, we will be able to at least use all three apps to do some basic things. Cool. First things first, we're going to jump into Sway. So what we're going to cover under Sway is, first, what is Sway? How is it different to PowerPoint? Let it do the heavy lifting, so how you can get Sway to work for you. Jazz up existing docs, and then what other editing options do you have within Sway? So what is Sway? And the official blurb from Microsoft, as you can see here, is that Sway makes it easy to create, share interactive reports, very important, personal stories, presentations, and much more. It easily lets you compile media content, so text, images, etc. It also lets you apply designer-created layouts and color schemes, and lets Sway suggest design elements to you to match the content. It also searches and imports content from other sources and then lets you share this on the web with anyone. So the key word here is interactive, because the main aim behind making Sway a separate app to PowerPoint was to give people this interactive presentation experience that PowerPoint doesn't necessarily provide out of the box. The app is intelligent enough to suggest design elements, so there is an AI element to Sway as well, and I'll touch upon that a bit later. But where Sway sits in comparison to PowerPoint is predominantly in the web, and that's the focus of it. So how is it different to PowerPoint? What I've done is I've put it into a table so it's slightly easier to compare the products. The first difference, like I've been saying, is that Sway is an online-only app, which means there is no desktop installer for it. PowerPoint is both desktop and online, so yes, you can access PowerPoint online. You don't need to have the app installed on your PC or your Mac. You can go into the online portal and access PowerPoint slides, create documents, do most of the basic things, but Sway is literally online only, so there's no desktop app for Sway. Not yet anyway. Kind of defeats the purpose. The second difference is to do with how content is laid out within those two apps. With PowerPoint, we're all familiar with the slideshow. This is what I'm doing today. This is how we've used presentation apps in the past. Design your slides, flick through them. You've got fancy animations and transitions that make them look a bit more dynamic, but essentially it's a slideshow. Sway changes the presentation options a little bit, and it gives you the option of having vertical or horizontal scrolling. So this is like browsing a website, that's vertical scrolling. You know, take your mouse pointer, go up and down. Horizontal scrolling, so if you've got an iPad or a tablet and you want to swipe between screens, you can swipe right to left and view the content that way. But then also it does include a slideshow option. So if you feel like you want to present the content in a slideshow, Sway will let you do that as well. The third point is how you share Sway and PowerPoint documents with someone. So with PowerPoint, you would usually either email the file, or if you're on the same organization SharePoint, you can share a link to that file, or you would convert the file to a PDF and then send someone that PDF. Because Sway is online, sharing it is as easy as sharing a web link. So copy paste the link, send it to someone else, and they pop that into their web browser, and then they can start viewing your Sway presentation. So obviously very easy to share, and because it is all online, you could then use that link and embed it into a website, so you could almost integrate your Sway into another web page. We've talked about this before, so the offline usage, obviously Sway is an online app, so you can't do anything offline, which means if you don't have an internet connection, you can't get onto Sway or look at Sways or modify Sways or present Sways. PowerPoint, obviously, because it has an offline or a desktop app, you don't need to be connected to the internet. It will let you create and work on presentations and display them. So that is a big point of difference. Licensing. Now, this is a bit of a boring one, but I think one that we need to cover off, because unlike some of the other products in that Microsoft stack, Sway is actually completely free. You don't need a Microsoft license to be able to use Sway. You do need a Microsoft account. So, you know, throw back to the days when you had a MSN account, MSN Messenger, Inbox, Mail, whatever. Even if you've got an account like that, or a live account as it's called these days, you can still use Sway with that Microsoft account. The extra features that you get in Sway with an Office license are things that keep it apart from the free version. And those extra features are things like password protecting your documents, removing some of the default footers under the free versions of Sway, and also limits on how much content you can fit into a single Sway if you don't have a Microsoft license. So if you do have any sort of Office 365 license or Microsoft 365 license, you do get all those features thrown in. PowerPoint obviously requires a valid Office license. no going around that fact. Unless you've got a licensed copy of PowerPoint, you can't run it. So simple as that. Cool. So let's start looking at some of the features of Sway. First one, let it do the heavy lifting. This entire thing is about being efficient and being able to use applications and streamlining your workflow. So one of the features I like about Sway is that rather than me having to think a lot about designing content, I can get it to recommend suggestions to me. So usually what I do is I sit with a PowerPoint document and I look at the screen and go, come on, give me some inspiration. Which template should I use? Which font will look good on this? You know, how should I structure the presentation? And even before I've started putting all the content in, those are the sorts of thoughts that are going through my head. Sway is really helpful in this respect because it gives you all of that information. So you do get the standard built-in templates, but it can also do a few other things like give you suggestions. Let's try and log into the Office portal here. So we're just going to go to office.com and then go into Sway, and that's where we'll launch Sway for the first time. So there you go. You've got Sway up here. I'm going to click into it. And as you can see, these are the options that you get when you log in. So you can start with a blank Sway, you can start from a document, or you can use, you know, all of these templates that you've got here for you. There's also some more templates here, so click on that. And there we go. So there's a whole heap of templates, and they are all application specific. So how-to documents, business presentations, status updates, vision documents, portfolios, resume samples, blogs, announcements, newsletters, presentations, reports, vacation stories, updates, data presentations, blogs, DIY projects, you know, the list goes on. Let's use this one, data presentation, for now. So this is what Sway looks like. If I move through this Sway or present this Sway, these are the different elements that I've got in here. So executive summaries, extra data slides, you can import Power BI content into it. So as you can see, it is giving you this sort of overview of what is capable when you use Sway. So let's start editing this and see what we get from here. Cool. So this is the editor side of it. You can see there's presentations, backgrounds, you can edit other stuff. Let's also look at this little feature. So start from a topic. Now this is really cool because it means that you can get Sway to give you or suggest content. So do you want to talk about dinosaurs, photosynthesis, Roman history? And that powered by Wikipedia is a good one. So that's where it's going to pick up some of this content from. So if I want to create one for Microsoft 365, I ask it to create an outline. Wikipedia clearly doesn't know what Microsoft 365 is yet, so let's pick Office 365 as the closest option. And then we're going to go create outline. Now what this will do is it'll search Wikipedia, it'll find content and lay it out for me. You get this little text card at the top. That's got description from Wikipedia about Office 365, so obviously you can edit that. You've got a history section with obviously some more information in there, but as you can see, it's creating all of this content and suggesting a layout for you already out of the box. You've got security here. Again, all this information, like I said, is from Wikipedia. You've got a link to plans and a comparison. So, you know, it's giving you ideas. Maybe you should have a comparison of the different Office 365 plans. Reception, so you can go to Tech Radar and get some information from there. And then references. This is the footer I was talking about. So the fact that it was auto-generated, this will show up in here. What does the Sway actually look like? This is the design side of it. So when you click on design, it brings you into how this will look to someone that you're sharing the Sway with. So it's not bad. I mean, it's not amazing. I probably wouldn't use this as my presentation, but rather than me having to think about, you know, how do I do this? What outline should I use? This is actually doing all the heavy lifting for me. So I quite like it. I quite like the fact that it, you know, it gives you all this information to begin. Let's look at jazzing up existing documents. So you can also start Sway from an existing document. So I'm going to use this Word document here, which is just an example document, which is a sales proposal. These are standard Microsoft sample documents. So as you can see, there's quite a bit of content in here, but essentially it's a boring Word doc. So how can we jazz this Word doc? We're going to click on that, bring it into our Sway. There we go, just a moment. There you go. So instantly you can see that a static Word doc has been transformed into something slightly more dynamic. Wow, that's a massive image, so probably something that I will change. But yeah, you've got your headers there, you've got different sections coming in, some nice transitions for the graphics. There you go, yeah. So instantly it's converted a boring sort of Word document into something different. Now let's look at editing this and see what we can do. First thing I want to do is move that image because it's too big for me. So this is the emphasis side of it. Now I can change the emphasis and I can make it subtle, and this is kind of the language that Sway works with. It's not font sizes, it's not pixel sizes, it's all about being intuitive. So changing the emphasis and making it moderate or subtle is going to change that image for me. And immediately I can hit the play button there to see what it looks like in live view. Okay, let's go back to edit. The other thing we can do is set focal points. At the moment, I've said that this entire image is important. I want to view this whole thing. But if I take that off, you can see in the preview down the bottom what that image will then render as on tablets and phones. So it'll try and find the right content and automatically zoom in on that. If I go show me the entire image, it'll show you the entire thing without worrying. Now, say I want to set focal points in this image, and I want to ignore these people and I want to focus on this beautiful tree in the background. If I pop that as my focal point, you can see that it's instantly updated the preview to include just that focal point. I can reset it and focus on the people. Yeah, and you can see that it's picked up that that's my focal point. So immediately when I view this presentation or view this Sway, I can see that that image has been cropped to just those people because that's my focal point. So it's really easy to do. Like, you don't need to know about font sizes or image sizes or resizing things, dragging and dropping. You know, you're letting Sway make all those changes and really interacting with in an intuitive way. Let's look at some of the editing options. So, you know, what can you do in terms of editing options for? Click into edit. What do we got here? Go into design and go into style. So the thing that we spoke about earlier is this scrolling bit, so vertical, horizontal, and slideshow. If I move this to horizontal scrolling, oh wow, did not expect that, but that is a really big image. So this is probably not a document that's geared towards horizontal scrolling, so we'll definitely change that. But as you can see, you can still get that sort of dynamic document view straight away by doing these sorts of things. Change it to a slideshow, and now this will feel more like a traditional PowerPoint. So click through to flip through different slides. Yes, it's got the nice animations and transitions, but essentially this is like clicking through a PowerPoint presentation. Cool. All right. The other thing we can do here is set it back to vertical, so it's more like a web page. So let's use that and go into some of these other customizations you've got. So clicking on different color options not only changes the fonts and the background, but it also changes colors. So as you can see, the executive summaries change colors. You've also got different patterns that you can use. And these are obviously the built-in templates, but there's no reason why you couldn't customize them. The other thing that's really cool, and if you're feeling, you know, if you're feeling up to it, you can let it do remixes for you. So if you click on remix, it'll go through and recommend. This is like, you know, picking a lucky number from a lotto draw or something. It's going to remix the content. It's going to change the layout of it and provide certain features. So yeah, why not? I like these lightning bolts, so let's stick with that for now. Let's go into storyline mode. So this is where you can actually start adding content in. So if I wanted to insert a photo in, I'd click on insert, and the first thing you'll see here is suggested sources. So you can pull in photos and images and media content from all of these different sources. Let's go into the search box here and search for something that's sales related. Of course, make sure that you've got the right copyright, but let's pick this image here, drag and drop, and there you go. It's as simple as that. I can click into that image to emphasize it. You know, I want to have, there we go, I can set a focal point on it. So I can go, yeah, I want it to zoom in on that L there. And then I can hit play straight away to see what it looks like. So I can scroll down and there you go, it's going to zoom in. And I've got my basic presentation there with the media content that I imported. Sharing it is nice and easy. Click on share, get the link. You can specify if you want to restrict permissions, whether you want people to view or edit. I'm going to leave it so that people can just view it. And then I'm going to copy that link. There we go. And then I'm going to send it to someone. So if I then go into a browser as someone who's accepted this link and I click into it, there you go. It tells me that the page is private because I didn't share it with external people. And then I can browse the entire sway just through a web browser. So I don't need any specific applications to do it. This can be rendered on a PC, on a tablet, on a phone, and it retains all the beautiful formatting and the changes and the transitions that you get when you design the sway. Cool. So that's sway in a nutshell, a little bit more than a nutshell, but as you can see, it's nice, interactive, it's quick, you can make changes intuitively, you don't need to spend a lot of time on formatting, and sharing it as well is nice and straightforward because copy paste, send the link off to people, and then they've got their sways. All right, what's next on today's agenda is PowerPoint. I'm not going to introduce PowerPoint because it doesn't need an introduction. Let's go straight into some of the tips. So the first thing we're going to look at today is design ideas. We're going to then move on to how to create sections. It's a nice way to sort of format and manage large PowerPoints. How to present remotely. So before any of these sorts of apps came along, Teams and other screen sharing apps, how would you present remotely? Something you can do even now. This is a bit sort of misleading. Use Zoom. I'm not going to teach you how to use Zoom because I've already taught you how to use Teams yesterday, but this is how to use the Zoom feature. How to reuse slides, again, saving you precious clicks when you're designing or creating content. And the last one is how to create how-to videos. So videos that you were seeing in the presentation today, how to do that yourself. The first one we're going to do is use design ideas. So let's say that we've created this presentation, but you want to try and make it look a bit more slick. You know, someone else has made this and I was like, no, I feel like it needs a bit more polish. So let's use design ideas. Now you've got a button at the top here that says design ideas. All you do is click into it. What it does there is it's going to start generating some ideas for me. So I can go through this list and see, you know, what the recommendations are. See if there's anything in here that I like, but if there isn't, I can get more ideas and then that'll give me some more options. So let's say I like this one. Yeah, cool. Okay, why not? Looks a bit nicer. Can then go to the next slide and see if there's any ideas for that one. Click into there. Okay, no design ideas for this slide, and this is normal. It's going to look at the content and then try and give you suggestions based on the content. So you might run into this feature where sometimes it doesn't like these. Looking at ideas for this one, it knows that we're looking at sort of budget and spending, so it's retaining some of those pie charts. It's throwing graphics with like money and things like that on it. You know, you've got green ticks for completed sections. Slides with graphs on them. Here you go. There's different ways that you can lay these out. So, you know, you could use something like this and go, maybe I want this. No, maybe not. Just going to undo that. But yeah, you get the idea. So looking at the content, it's going to suggest different options. Now this is the clever bit. So this is where it knows the content on the slide. So it knows that we're looking at something that has web, TV, and marketing, and it's suggesting icons based on that content. And that's really cool. So this feature comes from a sort of a product. It's not really a product, but what Microsoft described as their connected experience. So it understands and it knows the text within your slide deck, and it's using those keywords to find icons and other design elements that are relevant to that content. If you're worried about the security element of it, and does that mean that Microsoft can read all the data in my presentation? No, that's not how it works. It's literally keyword searches. So it's got a lookup table at the back that says, the word web, what does the word web translate to in terms of icons? This is what the options are, and it'll drop you those ideas. If you are really interested in what this sort of includes, look for connected experiences, search for it online, and there's pages and pages of articles on how it works and how Microsoft handles data security in relation to that. The next part of it is creating sections. So I find that using sections is a nice way to kind of break up or manage large PowerPoint documents. I'm going to use this little one as an example because it's nice and easy. It's only got 6 or 7 slides, so let's see how we can use sections to kind of help us organize this document. Let's say I want to create a section here, so I just go right click, add section, and I'm going to call this introduction. And what else have we got on these slides? So there's some expenditures, marketing expenditures and engineering expenditures. So let's group these together and call that another section, and I'm going to call it expenditures. Yep. What have we got? Some integration difficulties and some other challenges. So I'm going to call this section challenges. And then I'm going to call that last slide the conclusion slide. So we're just going to keep all of these under challenges, and then this slide I'm going to call conclusion. Now what this has done is it's broken up my presentation into different sections. I can then go up to the top, expand and collapse these sections as I like. And that means I can focus on different parts of my slide deck without being overwhelmed by this, massive list of 10, 20, 40, 50 slides that you can see in the preview. When you share this file with someone else, if you've got certain sections, or if you've got certain sections minimized, I should say, they'll stay minimized when the other person opens the document. So it's a nice way to kind of focus their attention on what you need them to see or what you need them to collaborate on. Cool. The third option there is remote presentations. So before any sort of screen sharing apps and Skype and Teams and everything else, this feature was actually in PowerPoint since about Office 2013, I'm going to say. And when you had to send presentations over to people that couldn't make it to the meeting, it usually meant either sending them a PDF and then getting them to jump on a phone call, and they would open up the PDF there, and you would have it open in the boardroom while you were presenting, and then you would tell them when you were changing slides, and they would follow at home. The Present Online experience kind of allows someone to follow your presentation as you're giving it live. And all they need at their end is a web browser, so they don't even need to have PowerPoint installed at their end. All they need is a web browser. So I've got a little demo video on how this works. We start off with this presentation here. You just click into slideshow and go into Present Online. It's a free service. Again, you can choose whether you want remote viewers to download the presentation. I'm going to leave that off for now. And it goes through and prepares that for online presentation, gives you a link that you can send to people. So let's just copy that. And then I can start the presentation. There you go. So now I'm presenting. If I then swap over to a web browser and paste that link, so you can see the same presentation. Now, if I swap back and move slides and then swap back to that browser, it's followed the presentation. So, you can also let them download things, but as you can see, changing slides in during the presentation reflects live at the other end as well. When you're done presenting, simply go back to your presentation, click the End Online Presentation button. There you go. Everyone viewing this will be disconnected. Do you want to continue? Yep, that's fine. And now if I look at the browser, it says the presentation's ended. Now, if you had clicked the button that said allow them to download the slideshow, they will be able to click on that download button up the top. The follow presenter option, so what that does is it lets you, so when you're following it online, it'll let you scroll through the presentation to see what's in the slide deck. But then if you click that follow presenter button, it'll go back to the slide that's currently live on the presenter screen. So you can kind of browse through everything that's there and then go, yep, cool, I know what's in this presentation. I want to continue viewing it, click the follow presenter, and it'll throw you back to the slide that the presenter is on. Cool, so that is online presentations. Now Zoom. So what is Zoom? So you might have noticed if you were here for the last two sessions that I'm kind of using a different method to go between sections, and it's kind of comes from this overview slide where you've got all the different sections and then it throws you back between the individual sections as you go through the presentation. Let's start on how you can use Zoom and how you can add this into your presentation. So this is my blank template for these webinars. I've got a slide here that is my intro slide. The entire deck is already split into sections. As you can see, I've got all the different sections here, so let me collapse them so you can see what they are. So if I want to create this Zoom and I want to insert it on this blank slide, all I do is click on Insert, click on Zoom, and I've got three options here: Summary Zoom, which we'll see later, Section Zoom, and then Slide Zoom. So Section Zoom picks up the sections that you already have in your PowerPoint deck. I can choose which sections I want to appear, and it drops them into this slide, and then it'll let me move them and sort of arrange them the way I like it. How does this work? So I click on Slideshow, click on each slide, and it zooms to that slide, and when I'm done with that section, it zooms back. I can go through to the next one, click through the section, and it'll keep zooming back to the main slide. If I then go to this other document, which is flat document, no sections, and then I go Insert Zoom, it gives me an option for Summary Zoom, but grays out the others. So when I click Summary Zoom, it's now actually going to let me create these sections. So I can pick the different slides, and I can say that line basically tells me which slides are in that section. As soon as I create a new section, you can see the line is just for those. So I'm going to make these three parts, three sections, and it's imported that slide and retained the theme of my presentation. So now I can click into it, go through that section, it zooms back in, go through the section, back to the initial page, and that's how the zoom feature works. Now, what if I didn't want it to go back to that zoom slide all the time? So I just go into the last one that I don't want to transition. So one that has those arrows means that it's going to return to the zoom slide. The one that I want to just end it, I'm going to hit that little tick and say remove. So then when I'm on that section and I finish that section, it's just going to go forward to the next one, which is the end of the slideshow. Cool. That's a nice quick overview of how to use Zoom. Reusing slides. Now this is a favorite because it means that I'm going to save a lot of time by using slides from other decks that I've already created. Normally, if you had to do this, you would open up the second presentation, you would scroll through the slides, you would pick the slides that you want, copy them, go back to the one you're working in, paste the slides, change the formatting if you wanted to make it look different, and that's how you would usually pull slides from another presentation. But with this little handy feature, you can reuse slides without having to leave the PowerPoint app or without having to leave your current presentation. So let's say we want to insert a slide here and we want to reuse slides. So you can either right click and go reuse, or you can use the button at the top. From the suggestions, let's say this is the presentation we wanted to use, you can go choose slides. And what that does is it opens that presentation in this little preview section on the side. Now, if we wanted to change the formatting, you've got that option there. So I'm going to say don't use the source formatting because I want it to match what I've got in this presentation. I want it to match the formatting of my current presentation. And just by clicking insert slide, it's pulled that slide into my presentation and applied all of my current formatting to it. So saved me having to open up the second presentation, browse to slide 5, copy that, go back to my current presentation, paste that slide, and then change the design elements of it. So probably saved you about 7 or 8 clicks to import a slide that you might already know exists somewhere else. Last one in PowerPoint is how to create how-to videos. If you didn't know, PowerPoint has a built-in screen recorder. So say we wanted to create a how-to video on how to use Outlook Online. What I would do is get my little title slide out of the way, go to my new slide, and then go insert, and then go to screen recording. Now, when you click that, screen recording will ask you to mark the area that you want to record. So I can say that this is the window that I want to use in my recording, and then I can also tell it to pick audio if I wanted to record audio over it. Simply clicking record gives you a nice countdown, 3, 2, 1, and that's where it starts recording. So then I can, play around and pretend that I'm showing you how to use Outlook. Click here, that's fine. And then when I'm done with the recording, you can use the shortcut key to stop recording, and you'll notice that as soon as I hit those keys, the red borders have disappeared, and that means that it's done the recording. It then drops it onto that slide. You can also trim the video, so if there were sections in there that you don't want to use, you can sort of trim it from start and end, like that. Drag those sliders to remove the content that you don't need. When you're done, you'll have your video. You can also add effects like fade in and fade out, and then you can give it sort of a fade in time or a fade out time if you wanted to, kind of make them look a bit more sleek. You can insert captions, you can choose when to start the sequence, you can loop recording, so you've got all these options up the top that you can play with. Easy way to use or create these how-to videos. Cool, so that is PowerPoint. Just going to do a quick time check. Cool, we've got 22. Let's move into Stream. So we're going to start with what is Stream. So this is the official blurb from Microsoft again. It's an enterprise video service. So think of YouTube or a video platform like that, but designed for the enterprise, for your business, and a platform where you can share, upload, view content securely within your organization. You can share recordings of classes, meetings, presentations, training sessions, and other videos that aid collaboration. You can share components, you can tag time codes, add comments, descriptions, and then also it helps you organize content into channels and groups and works well with the other apps. So similar to all the other stuff, integrates well with everything else that's on there. All right, so how does Stream work? Now, I'm going to take you to our Cooper Parry Stream page because it's got a lot of content on it and it's a lot easier to go through this. Let's look at what we've got here. So this is kind of the landing page for Stream. It gives you this discovery feed. So these are sort of videos that are trending in CP. There's aid, hello. There's videos on how to use some of the apps that we've got, and then it also has the options to sort of upload your own content. The layout, so you've got trending videos on one side, you've got channels on the other side, and that kind of is how you would browse the Stream section. You can also discover videos, channel, people and groups to find content that way. Your content lives in its own location, so you can find it there, and that's where you would create different content. So you can also run live events through it. But the caveat here is that you do need a separate license for live events. So, if you have questions about that, I can take that offline. The search feature there, so that's just a global search to find videos within your Stream website. Let's just pop into our channels. So these are the different channels that we have at Cooper Parry. Going back to the home page, let's look at one of the videos on here. So let's look at this trending videos. This is one of the apps, one of the Power Apps really.
Hey everyone, it's Steve here again from Cooper Perry IT, and today I'm just going to give you a very quick overview of our Cheers for Peers application.
Cool, so let's pause that. So as you can see, there's a transcript here. So this is a pre-recorded video, but Steve's voice has been transcribed to the other side. And this is a live transcript of everything that was on the video. So any content you upload into Stream is going to transcribe it for you. The details page is, very similar to YouTube. So you can hide the transcript. You can go into theatre mode and make that video window a bit bigger. You can find which other groups or channels this video is in. You can add it to a watch list. You can share it. Let's just go down to this transcript. You can also browse this video by following the transcript. So if I wanted to say play this content here,
case I'll do it for my colleague Elliot. Once that's popped up, it'll populate his team automatically. You can then just put a little note on there. So I'm just going to say helped out with my last project.
And as you can see, the transcript follows the video, so it will scroll through. Let's go do this one more time.
People, they can react, they can leave comments. So just like a normal Teams posting. So I hope you found that useful.
Cool. So the main thing with this is that the transcript that you see is indexed, so you can search for different keywords within the transcript. So where you would use this was, say, if you had a recording of a live event, if you had, say, an all-staff meeting that you couldn't attend, and that was uploaded into your stream. And say within that live stream, there was content that, someone had spoken about sales forecasts for next year. You could then launch that stream video, go to the transcript section, go to the search box, type that keyword in, sales forecast. It would find that keyword, drop you into the stream video at that section, and then it'll start playing from there. So, you don't have to go through this sort of drag and, move the slider, see what they're talking about. No, that's not what I was interested in. Move a bit further. No, that's not what we're interested in. Keep doing that. You can just use that transcript section and then sort of go from there. The other thing that I touched upon quickly was live events and streams. So you can use Stream for live events. So something like what I'm doing now, or for literally, video live events, if you've got sort of presentations that you want to broadcast to clients, to the rest of your team members. But to do that, you do need to have an extra license. So it doesn't come as an out-of-the-box feature. It is an add-on, and then you would need to pay for a license in order to do that. Cool. So that's a quick tour of Stream. That brings us to the end of the 3 apps that we've got on today's agenda. Upcoming events. So last one of the series tomorrow is the Data AI Automation Power Hour, and I've got Steve Strang, who's our in-house Power BI and Power Apps expert. He's going to join me and talk about some of the apps on that list there. We've got stuff like Forms and Flow that interact really well with Power BI and Power Apps. So he's going to pick up those sections. I'm going to talk about Excel and some of the tips for using Excel. But I'm also going to touch on some of the other AI features within the Microsoft suite. So, things like the PowerPoint designer ideas today. So where it sort of goes back and it knows the content to recommend based on your presentation data, things like that. We're going to look at those tomorrow. We've also got a Power App session first week of June. So the target audience for that one is slightly different. It's for people that are designers and developers of Power Apps, so slightly more technical session, that one. We've got Chris Huntingford, who's a Power Platform guru at Microsoft, along with Steve, who's going to be on tomorrow's call. And together they're going to show you how to build your own COVID-19 wellbeing Power App. This is something we're using internally at CPIT, and it's a nice way for you to keep in touch with your employees through this period where we are not necessarily working in a common office space anymore. But yeah, so that's what we've got coming up. Q&A time. So if there's anything in Q&A that you would like, let's go to that now. There's already a couple of questions in here, but if you have anything else, feel free to go through it. Just going to go through this now. So what do we got here? Can you edit the video transcription that Steam generates? For example, I can see that some of the transcript was incorrect. Yep, good pickup. Yes, definitely. So that content is editable. We do have, as part of this working from home initiative, we've got some of these, exercise from home programs, and we've got Steve Whittle that runs our own little Joe Wicks-ish CP workout from home. And some of the transcripts that his workouts generate are quite interesting to say the least. Usually the transcription process works better if you've got a dedicated microphone or if you've got a nice audio setup. Obviously in a video that's someone working out and they're quite far from the microphone or quite further away from their laptops, it doesn't always pick up the right thing. So there have been a few screenshots that have been shared around with interesting, if we can say, interpretations of what Steve has said. But yes, you can definitely edit those transcripts. So if you've got public videos that you want to share out, you can double check that the transcripts are actually saying the right things. The other question here is the included stream video on demand functionality for internal organization use only, or can you share videos with external parties such as prospective clients? Good one as well. The answer to that is yes, you can share these with external people as well. Right at the beginning, I said that SharePoint is the back end of all of this. So the storage for all of this will enter SharePoint anyway, and your guest access permissions in SharePoint sort of transfer across to this. You do have the option within Stream to share that link, make it public, and it's very similar to what we're doing with these live events. So if you missed today's workshop, or if you attended it, but next week hang on a second, what was that he said again? Or if you want to download the recording, you can go back into the Teams live event and there'll be a section to download it. The video content in this essentially is backing off to Stream anyway. So yeah, you can include external recipients and you can restrict the permissions on that. Cool. Just going to wait on a couple of more Q&A if we have any more, but while we've got that, let me go into Microsoft Forms and see if there were any other surveys that people have filled out today. What have we got? We've got about 10 or so. We've got 12 replies today, so let's just quickly go through some of these responses. Excellent. Everyone has used Microsoft 365, so we've got the right audience. Excellent. How would you rate your knowledge of Microsoft 365? 3 out of 5, so we've gone up in average from what we were yesterday. We were around, I think, 2.8 yesterday. Nice. The biggest change from yesterday is that I don't have any zeros on which apps have you used. Everyone that's here today has used literally every app that was on that survey. That makes me really happy. If you were playing at home, the most frequently used app is To Do, followed by My Analytics and Planner. So I thought I'd throw out some of the lesser known apps, but it looks like there's a lot of people using it. What were you hoping to learn from today's session? So let's quickly look through that list. Expand general knowledge, hints and tips, productivity ideas, insight into Office 365, and find out which apps are hidden that might be useful. So yeah, some of these gems are quite hidden, but yeah, hopefully sessions like this will help to bring them out and start people on the road to using them a bit more. And would you be interested in follow-up sessions? So 8 people have said maybe and 4 people have said yes. Now I'm hoping that was because it was the start of the session, and by the end of it, probably most of you are going to change that to yes rather than maybe or no. But yeah, we will definitely look at running some more sessions like this soon. Excellent. So that is me. Let me just quickly pop back. We've got another question in. Can videos from stream be embedded on websites similar to YouTube videos? Very good question. I will have to double check that. If you want to send me a note on this, hello@cooperparryit.com, it has come up as an anonymous question, so I don't know who's asking that question now, but if you do send me a note on this, hello@cooperparryit.com, and just mention that this is a question from the presentation Power Hour, they'll pass that on to me, and then I can send you a couple of articles on whether this can be done, or other options you may have if you can't embed it. Cool. All right, just going to look at the time. We've got 5 minutes to go. I'm going to give you 5 minutes off your life back today, so it's going to be a Power 55 instead of a Power Hour. Thank you again for joining me today. Looking forward to tomorrow's session with Steve and working with Power Apps. Last little zoom to my thank you slide, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of the evening.